Good morning, Bravehearts, and good morning, Garfield, New Jersey. I told Lori I was going to start breathing. I got to start breathing more often. Welcome back to Marv in the morning. My computer was giving me a headache this morning, but she calmed down. She's back on the road, and we're doing good. Welcome back. This is episode 42. The title of this episode is The Legacy of Your Podcast. What you're leaving behind by doing a podcast. Timestamps will be below. Subscribe, thumbs up, notification bell. You know the usual spiel every episode, right? Been doing this long enough now, right? That we know the spiel already, don't we? But yeah, guys, listen. Shout out to Tio Rose's barbecue. The clips have been doing very well on socials, and getting a lot of attraction. And I think I finally found the formula, or like kind of like the workflow of getting all the promotional stuff out there for every episode. Get everything on every social media, because the biggest struggle is that you spend so much time creating a post on one app that wow, you got to go repeat that same process on a second app and a third nowadays, that it can be a little bit strenuous. But the work, once you figure out the workflow, which I think a whole episode needs to be dedicated to that as well, to just figuring out the workflow. Once you have that mastered, your life just becomes a lot easier. You get the information out on time. You get the promos out, and it feels good. Of course, there's a little bit of a dopamine drop in your mind when when the clicks start coming in and the attraction starts pulling. The traffic starts moving from one place to another. If you can get people to go from socials to YouTube or to Apple and to Spotify, you create a pipeline like that. Listen, that's the goal of every content creator, right? The goal of all of them. I mean, you can exist primarily on socials as well. I mean, I've heard of a lot of them, a lot of content creators doing that. But the goal is usually to drive traffic to another place. So you can make that process easy, and you could, do it daily on multiple socials. Then you're on to something. Listen, you're creating traffic. You're creating a pipeline. You're guiding people across the Red Sea, right? There's so much noise in the social media space that getting the traffic to go somewhere can be a little bit daunting of a task. But once you've kind of figured that out, then you're kind of on the right path, right? The Theo Rose barbecue interview, great interview. I just edited it. Is edited the word? It was edited and uploaded, and I put some special touches in there. I know the video's gonna do well. I think this is gonna be a big one, big release for the channel, and I can't wait to watch it live with everybody tonight at 7 p.m. So pull up to that. We got the page open here. So yeah, man, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, notification bell. You can see when it's live. You'll get notified there. Show some love. I mean, it was a great interview, a great time hanging with dude. I mean, one of my own, de lo mio. That's what de lo mio means, by the way. If you hear me saying it often, it's one of my own. It's something the Dominicans say to each other, an affectionate term we have for each other. So yeah, great episode, great interview, and great gems dropped in there. When he was speaking about how he went to a restaurant with his son, another barbecue spot, and his son was honest with him and told him, "Hey, pops, their brisket is better than yours. Everything else you got better, but you got to work on the brisket." So, and him taking that and saying, "You know what, I got to do better." Him saying like, "Hey, I accept all criticism. I'm more tuned, or my ears are more tuned to the criticism than to the compliments." Very important that you make a note of the criticism and you take criticism well. I pity, and I don't like using that word too often, but I do pity creators that cannot take criticism well, because that's how you grow. That's how you get better at what you're doing, through criticism. if you're around just a yes men, around a bunch of yes men, and they're just saying, hey, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great, how are you gonna grow? You're already thinking in your head like, hey, I'm already knocking it out the park. I don't got to do jazz. No, always do better. Always open yourself to criticism, constructive criticism, of course. And yeah, dude, shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. Shout out to the whole idea with the neighbors. I gotta just start doing more things for the neighborhood around here as well. Just he was inspiring me up there. He was teaching me a lot of things. So yeah, shout out to Theo Rose. Catch the interview tonight, 7 p.m. YouTube. Links all over the place. You go to Instagram, you can see it. You go to TikTok, you can see it. You have YouTube clips going up right now. So yeah, shout out to Theo Rose. Now let's just hop right into the meat and potatoes, because I the whole this morning troubleshooting with the computer, trying to get the capture card working and all that jazz took away a lot of my prep time, and that's kind of unfortunate because I wanted this to be a powerful episode, but which it still will be regardless. But my organization of the bullet points here are a little all over the place. So bear with me, and who knows, maybe I'll have to redo this episode. And I've actually even considered going back to some older topics with fresher ideas. Of course, as time goes on, the game changes, it evolves, it's always something new. You can always apply new ideas to old situations. Usually works out better that way, right? Usually does. Take a hit of the Bustelo over here. But yes, the legacy of your podcast. And if you're not a podcaster and you're watching this, the legacy of anything you create, your legacy in general, right? Your legacy in general. The first thing I put here is you will never, ever know who you were inspiring with what you're doing. And that's going to lap around to like the last bullet point as well. It's going to all come back full circle. But yeah, I have always had the most profound moments speaking to people who come up to me and say, hey, what you're doing inspired me. Like you show me that I can do this, that I can do better, that I can achieve something, that this is worth it. Even if my podcast is only viewed by one person, but that one person is being inspired, that person is your legacy. It makes what you were doing worth it. Not even coming from a spiritual or a celestial or universal religious standpoint. If what you're doing is helping someone, that's your legacy. What that person achieves is part of your legacy as well. I always think back, and I'm sorry if I go back to anime so often, but like I tell people all the time, I was a kid raised by the television screen, right? But in Dragon Ball Z, he's like, everybody's watching, like, where's he going with this one? In Dragon Ball Z, the original Dragon Ball Z, they changed it now, but they have the movie where they show you who Goku's father was. And Goku's father was a warrior. He did a lot of battles. He kind of was like a not too good of a guy. He kind of was a bad guy, working with the Saiyans. All the Saiyans were, right? They were a warrior race, sort of like the Spartans or whatever. And then they found out that the person they were working for, who was Frieza, was gonna destroy their planet and kind of commit genocide on the Saiyan race. Which, just think about this sometimes, and it's like, man, I saw this at 8 years old. But yes, was gonna commit genocide on the Saiyan race, and he had a vision of it happening. He tried to warn everyone, to no avail. No one listened. He went up to Frieza himself and try to take him out, and no luck. Frieza threw out giant world-ending ball of fire and just launched it at the planet. And in his last dying words, like the thing that stands out to be the most, he has like a vision of his son fighting Frieza, defeating Frieza even, and he says, "I see now. I see my legacy. Like I gave birth to the person that's gonna kind of get vengeance, I guess it would be the right term here. Even though I don't really like to think of it as he did it for vengeance, but I gave birth to the person that's gonna save everyone, save their planet, wherever they grow up on. Right? That was his legacy. And for podcasters that have children as well, like your children watching your podcast is part of your legacy. Them getting to see you in your element, in your zone, passionate about these topics, these niches, these experiences, these topics. Yeah, like that's your legacy as well. I love to see photos of my parents before I was around, right? My pop's passionate about sports. He's a baseball dude. I see all the pictures. There was trophies. My whole life there was always trophies littered all over my living room. I say littered because there were six of us, so those trophies were getting knocked over and hit and chipped all the time. Unfortunately, like man, it was hard. I don't know how he managed with all six of us, and my mom, but yeah, it was trophies everywhere. And yeah, a trophy could be his legacy, but just always admiring, like, damn, man, my pops like put in the work, you know. Um, he put in the time, he put in the work, and this is his legacy. And I admire what my pops has done in his lifetime. Even though I don't get to tell him enough, but yeah, like, hey, it inspired me. Like, I saw my pops as like a leader, and I always have, maybe even in the wrong situations, always try to lead the pack and try to be the leader of what I'm doing. Just so sometimes, well, situations you can't be the leader in every situation because you're not prepared for every situation, right? But in most cases, I try to put myself there, not out of a pride thing or an ego thing, but just from experience and being able to articulate ideas, right? Because that's what a leader is. That's the best quality of a leader: being able to communicate, being able to communicate. In the most latest Star Wars movie, there's not the most latest actually. I'm mistaken. In the Last Jedi, which is like the second to last Star Wars movie, one of the characters is being reprimanded by a general, and the general is not telling him the plan, and he just wants to go out and attack, and they're like, no, just wait, we have a plan. And he's like, what's the plan? And they're not telling him, so then he's getting in trouble because he's trying to kind of create an uprisal and take leadership into his own hands. And yeah, that was a kind of a bad take on I guess it was trying to make a message about toxic masculinity, but I think a better leader, a better general, you know, would be able to articulate, would be able to communicate and say, "Hey, here's the plan. This is why I need you to hang tight." So when we're talking about legacy in that case, then these movies have a pretty bad legacy. The Disney Star Wars canon is the legacy of those movies is up in the air. Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, the kids that grew up watching it will bring it back into the forefront and show people that there are qualities that are admirable about these movies. But who knows? But you see, all these things that I'm speaking about, all these elements and media and parenting and all these parts are all part of your legacy. It's what you leave behind. It's what inspires other people. Your podcast will never disappear from the internet. You can kind of get it off of most platforms. You can kind of get it to be harder to find, but realistically, nothing you put on the internet will ever disappear. If there is someone who is really good at perusing the internet, it's always gonna be there. And we got Trash Panda in the house. Yeah, I got a driver's test in an hour. Yo, shout out to Trash Panda getting ready to get his license, man. I feel like I seen this kid grow up over here. So you gotta come over here to Jersey if you get your license, bro. Wish me luck, Marv. The snow made the road slippery. You got snow in Florida? Aren't you in Florida, kid? What is it doing snowing in Miami over here? I thought you lived in Florida, bro. I kind of think too with Trash Panda being here Freddie Blaze up in the house. My guy. I haven't seen your messages, bro. I've been mondo busy, but I definitely want to get you in here for an interview, bro. You of all people need to come over here soon. Oh, you live in Iowa. Did you used to live in Florida? You moved from Florida to Iowa? I don't know if I've ever would have done that. I don't know if I ever would have done that. What do I know, though? What do I know? Maybe Iowa's got some cool jazz over there. I don't know. Who knows, right? Who knows? But yeah, guys, for everybody walking in now, we're discussing legacy. And if you're watching and you want to leave a comment, tell me, what do you want your legacy to be? What you leave behind from your art? I put podcast legacy because that's the realm I'm in. The legacy of your podcast. I guess Trash Panda, I don't know why I thought you lived in Florida. But shout out to Iowa. But yeah, man. Shout out to Iowa. What do you want your legacy to be for everyone watching? What do you want to leave behind? Like I said, I hope, and I hope that what I'm doing will inspire other people. I really do. And I kind of want to touch on something that I saw making the rounds on social media like a week ago, which was an open letter to Hollywood from John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo, pretty big, prestigious actor. He wrote an open letter to Hollywood discussing how hard it is for Latinos to get cast for a part when they give the roles to non-Latinos. Right? Now, I read the whole thing, and I definitely agree with him. 100% I agree with him. What I do not agree with is writing an open letter to an institution and sort of asking them permission or asking them to consider you in their thoughts when they are making decisions. I don't know if I said that clearly enough, but listen, I'm not about asking for anything. When it comes to something like in the terms of creating media, creating art, creating anything, I stand by him and saying, hey, yes, there needs to be more Latino representation in Hollywood. But I don't need Hollywood to give that to me. In my case, I hope that what people will see from what I have done in my lifetime, like I started this whole business over here, is that we don't need to ask permission from any other institution to do what we were born to do. If I am an actor and I need roles, listen, we need to create our own institutions and create jobs, create roles for other Latinos. I don't need to ask Hollywood to give me a job. I am going to create situations. I am going to create institutions. I will give my people jobs. And not based off of the fact that they are just my people either. Because I don't agree with that every Latino just needs to play every Latino role. I mean, John Leguizamo, not for nothing, buddy, but you have played Italians in some movies. Like, would you not have done a good job? Would someone else of an Italian descent have done a better job than you? Debatably. But, dude, I'm not with asking permission I'm not asking anyone for anything. The greatest compliment anyone has ever given me in this business and what I have done in my life is when I worked with Artie Lang. And Artie Lang is a radio legend. He worked with Howard Stern for a long time. He was the third mic on the Howard Stern show, the comedian on the show. He was recording here at Bravery for a small part of time. And he asked me, he said, what made you want to start a podcast studio, a podcasting business? And I said to him, well, someone told me I had a voice for radio. So I said, let me start a radio business. I'll start a podcast studio. Realistically, that's not exactly how everything went down. But that's what I said to him because I just wanted to give him a short answer. And he said to me, he's like, that's very aggressive behavior. And that's what time I'm going to be on every day. Listen, buddy, that is the time I'm going to be on every day. Because that's a legacy I want to leave behind. What I want to leave behind is I want to show other people who are like me from the same places as me, who have gone through what I have gone through, that you don't need to go. You don't need to go to other people and say, hey, give me this opportunity. You need to create the opportunity. Create the opportunity for yourself. We don't need to go to Hollywood and say, hey, give us jobs. We need to create our own Hollywood. I didn't need to go to another podcast studio. I didn't need to go to a radio station and say, hey, Artie Lang says I got a voice for radio. How about you guys give me a job? Why am I going to do that for? I'm going to create my own opportunities. I don't need anyone to give it to me. That's what I want to leave behind. This is not about asking anymore. We've asked and asked and asked for years, and they have not given. It's time to just do. It's time to do. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. When I have kids, when people see what I've done, even if this is the highest point I ever reach, look at what I've done. And I created this with pennies. Pennies. I'm not from a wealthy family. I have a 4,500 square foot studio. I achieved this with pennies. No one gave me $1 for this. No one helped me at all as far as starting it. Yes, as time went on, assistance came from small places. But listen, I never asked anybody for anything in the beginning. I created the opportunity. And I created the opportunity for other people to come and record here now. Now I'm giving the opportunity to other people. That's what I'm about, John Leguizamo. I get what you're saying, and I'm with it. Like, yes, we need to see more representation. Create the representation. Create the situations where we can hire other people. That's what time I'm on, man. I don't know, like, why are we still asking for stuff? That's what I'm saying. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. I'm done asking. It's time to do. It's time to do. And that's all I can really say about that. Like, hey, that's what I want people to look back at me and remember. Above everything else, like, hey, I've made some cool videos. I've had some great podcasts. I've met some awesome people. I've traveled. I've done a lot of cool jazz in my life. But above everything else, what you take away from what I have achieved, what legacy I want to leave behind, is that I'm here to show people that you don't need to ask permission. Just do it. Just do it. You don't have to wake up and ask anybody for anything, man. I want to demonstrate that you can do anything. So I don't want to be tied down to be known for being great at just one thing. You can do anything. You can do anything. I like to be focused on one thing at a time personally. In my case, Trash Panda, because I'd rather be 100% on one thing than 33% on 3 different things. But that's just me. If you can manage 100% on 100 different things, then do your thing, brother guy. Luigi, facts, create your own legacy. Shout out to the Mina Mendoza show. Shout out to everybody watching. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe button, notification bell, all that jazz. That's how I feel about it. It's time to stop asking. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. And you know, to wrap this all up and tie right back to the beginning with who you never know who you're gonna inspire. You never really know. I remember, like I say all the time, I grew up like right in front of the TV screen every day, before school, after school. If I'm not outside, because yes, kids used to actually go outside when I was a kid. If I'm not outside doing whatever craziness we were doing out there, happy birthday, Trash Panda. Welcome to adulthood. Actually, you're not going to be an adult until you're 25, to be real. But whatever craziness I was doing outside, whatever video game I was playing, if I wasn't playing a video game or outside playing, riding bikes, I was in front of my TV screen. I was in front of the TV screen. And like I spoke about yesterday, about how, I was speaking on Batman's voice actor that had just passed away, right? I was saying how his legacy, is in someone like me, someone who grew up watching these superhero cartoons with these values that these characters carry and what they fought for. Spider-Man saying, with great power comes great responsibility. My power to create content, to push out ideas and thoughts. Ideas are bulletproof. Like the idea of I need to protect my city. Like that's what Batman like ultimately stands for, right? Um, these thoughts and ideas and philosophies are the legacy of these shows. Deep for like I think that '90s cartoons were a little more mature than what came later on and what was there before for sure. But 100% that was the legacy of these shows. And I remember watching like Boy Meets World, and Boy Meets World. The name says what the show's about. It's about a coming of age story of this kid growing up in Philly, and he had mentors, role models, people that inspired him, people that molded his life. You see him growing up with the same friends, and all the trials and tribulations of high school, college, then married life. And then when they brought the show back, they had like parenthood because he had a kid, and the kid became the main character and everything. But the main character had a brother named like Eric. Eric started off as the cool guy, right? The guy that got all the ladies. He was embarrassed to be in front of by his little brother, which is another thing that was unique about the show. That most shows made the older brother the main character, while Boy Meets World made the younger brother the main character to kind of give him like this, like handicap a little bit. Let's just say because older brothers always have it a little bit easier because they're guiding the younger brothers, right? At least that was a thought at the time, right? So how you call it? So Eric went from being the cool guy, and as the years went by, he became more of a joke character, more of a clown or whatever. But he there's one episode where I think he's in. I want to say it's an orphanage, and he's like mentoring this orphan, and it was like a punishment for something that he did, and he's like mentoring this orphan or whatever, right? He's teaching this kid the ropes, and they really bonding, and he's like, "Yo, I think I could adopt this kid. Like, me and him like get along like really well, right?" So Eric attempts to adopt this orphan because he's like, I'm mentoring him and I'm teaching him the ropes, and like he's my buddy. Like we're gonna rock and roll. And they're like, nah, you can't do this. You don't have the credentials. You don't have a family. You don't make enough money. Blah 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 blah. Yada yada yada. He helps the kid get adopted by a family that can actually provide for him, right? And Eric feels bad, and he's like, yeah, I wish I could have helped him more. I wish I could have done more for him, and whatever. Uh, and that was like kind of the end of the story there, right? That was kind of the end of the story. So, Flash to the future. Flash 2, they brought back the show on Disney Channel. They called it Girl Meets World now, and it's about their daughter who is going through kind of the same situations, but it's from a girl perspective, and she's going through kind of similar situations, and Corey's there as like a father now, and then I think they brought back almost all the characters. Not every episode, but they make cameos here and there, and they brought back Eric, the cartoonish older brother, and I think he was running for like I want to say like local government. I want to say like mayor. I could be totally wrong though. I could be totally wrong, but they were bringing up like how do we know you could be a good mayor? Like you don't even have a family, you don't have kids, you haven't demonstrated any type of leadership in your entire life. You've never demonstrated any kind of leadership. And this is here at a podium, like at a debate, like a political debate, where they have the two politicians competing against each other. And he's like thinking like, yeah, he's right. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. How do I demonstrate that I have any type of, I'm not a leader? And then one hand goes up in the crowd and says, I can vouch for him being a leader. And the hand belonged to that kid from the orphanage that he was mentoring back 20 years ago. It's the hand of the kid that he almost tried to adopt 20 years ago. It's, I can vouch for him being a great leader and a great mentor. And that's the kind of legacy. That's the kind of legacy you want to leave behind. That I want to leave behind. Well, you don't know. You never know who you're helping with what you're doing. You never know. You know, with my podcast, I hope that someone out there is watching. And like I said earlier, someone is seeing, like, this guy's doing it without the help, without asking for permission, without, you know, coming from nothing. Came from nothing. And he's doing it. We can all do it. We don't need to ask permission anymore. It's time to just do. It's time to do. Thank you for watching, Bravehearts. Thank you for kicking it with me all these Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings. We will be back tomorrow to cap off the week. But tonight, if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, do so, because the Theo Rose's barbecue episode is dropping. This man's got tremendous legacy that lies ahead of him. You know, tremendous legacy that lies ahead of him. So make sure you tune into that. And you listen, I appreciate everybody that comes by. You Bravehearts could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here kicking it with me. You're here kicking it with me. I appreciate that. Theo Rose tonight. This Saturday, Rival Fools Street Fighter tournament happening in the studio. Pull up to that if you're available. Opening the doors at 12 o'clock. So pull up to that. And yeah, guys, I like this episode a lot. I hope I brought some value to your lives with the words that I'm saying. We'll be back mañana. And yeah, stay brave. Do your thing. Above everything else, just keep on keeping on. All right, Bravehearts. See you tomorrow. Peace.